Insum Insider.
Welcome to the Inside. This is the Insum Insider, your source for Oracle Apex tips, techniques, methodologies, and really wherever that discussion takes us. I'm your host, Monty with an echo. The kid with the lid, coming to you from sunny Houston, Texas. And with me today is my good friend and member of the Insum family, Michelle Scamity. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Monty.
At the helm, keeping us on time and task is our producer, French-Canadian, Mark Rule. And Mark, we appreciate everything you do for us. It's Thursday, April 22nd, Season 2, Episode 8. And thank you for spending a piece of your afternoon with us. We're worldwide, coming to you live today on YouTube and Facebook. The Insum Insider is, of course, sponsored by Insum, thus the name. If you're doing anything with Apex and you need a lifeline, reach out to us. We offer everything from coaching and mentoring all the way through to turnkey project management and development. We're laser focused on Apex, and we have been since 2004. Michelle, I'm operating a little less than full capacity today. I got my second COVID vaccine, and I'm feeling the effects.
I've heard that can be a little rough. I'm sorry to hear that, but yay you're vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated, and I feel great in that sense. They say you're supposed to wait, 2 weeks after the second vaccine to kind of be totally vaccinated, I guess is what it is. But I feel great. I don't really keep a big circle down here, so I've never really felt that exposed. But, I do come in contact with elderly family members. So I guess the point I'm saying is that everybody, it's a personal decision. I know that there's people listening that can't wait to get the vaccine. There's people listening that they're going to choose to not get the vaccine. It's a personal choice. It's the choice I made because, I would feel horrible if I introduced the vaccine to some of my elderly family members or introduced the disease to my family members.
So here in Quebec, they've just made it available for our age group, so 45 plus. So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to head on out and go get the first shot. So,
all right.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Good
deal. Mm-hmm. And it's the AstraZeneca, I think, is what you guys have access to?
Yes, correct. Yeah. We have access to several of them, but for our age group at the moment, it's AstraZeneca. So that's what I'll be getting today.
I read something that said, which one should I get? And the answer is whichever one is offered. At this point, I don't. Sure. And, if you decide that that's the route you want to go, I don't think it matters a whole heck of a lot. I'm no doctor, but I don't think it matters a whole heck of a lot. If you choose to get stuck with the vax, whatever they have.
Absolutely.
Well, nevertheless, I'm really looking forward to today's show. I look forward to every one of these, but I'm looking forward to this one because I used to say the conference season waits for no one, and on the horizon is ODTUG's Kscope conference. Yay. It's going to be virtual this year. And Michelle, ODTUG is always going to be special to me. In years past, I had the privilege of serving as the organization's president, and it was really, really a time that I look back on very, very fondly. We didn't face this. Every era has certain challenges. We certainly back then did not face the challenges that the organization is facing. All organizations are facing right now. Today, we're joined by Karen Cannell, who is the assistant conference chair, Jackie McIlroy, who is the Apex track chair, and Helen Sanders, who chairs emerging tech, DB, and application development. All good friends of ours and all good friends of the community. So, Michelle, what say you bring them on?
I will do that. Welcome, Karen, Jackie, and Helen. Hi, ladies. Hey,
hello.
It's girls' team today. Monty, you feel outnumbered?
Man.
This is the kind of picture I like. Look at that.
Feel outnumbered. All right.
Yeah, with a big smile on his face too.
I like this. I like this ratio. Karen, you and I go way back, and I was thinking. I honestly, I don't remember the first time we ever met. I'm sure it was on site at a conference, but it seems like we've known each other forever.
I don't remember it either, and I don't even remember my first Kscope. I know locations, but I don't remember the numbers anymore. But yeah, I knew you know, well before you were president, Monty, and you made a super impression on our organization that is still lasting, and we appreciate that.
Well, that's quite kind of you. You know, it's all we are are trustees at that time. You know, I got there on the shoulders of giants, and it's great to see the conference still going well under very challenging times.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys are well equipped to weather this challenge, and I do think we're going to look back and go, wow, that was something, but we're going to get past it. Jackie, you and I met through your involvement with Insum, and you and I had the privilege of we worked together for a spell, but we also co-presented at I think it was in Orlando, and of all places, the BI analytics track.
Yeah. That was my first Kscope where I was speaking. I did 2 presentations, and one of them was with you, and I will never forget it.
I'll take that as a compliment.
I have to apologize. I have a wild animal in my shot.
Mine just walked by as well, so we're good with wild animals here.
And finally, Helen. Helen, I remember my first exposure to you was we followed you around with a camera, kind of documenting your journey to Kscope, and I couldn't remember if it was Hollywood or if it was Chicago, and you told me before the call that it was in fact Hollywood.
Yeah, it was Hollywood. I was in the leadership program in 2015, and you followed me in 2016. Yeah.
Yep.
And the cameraman promised me he would only do waist-up shots, and that did not happen.
We want names.
that had to be quite an experience, kind of like you're on a reality show or something, you know, with the cameras following you around like that.
Yeah, it was fun though.
Well,
it was really fun.
Thank you all for taking time out of your busy day. Now, one of the things we've had a lot of fun with over the last few months is 2 Truths and a Lie, and we have 2 Truths and a Lie coming up, the Kscope edition. So Mark is going to throw up a slide, and 2 of these are true. 1 of these is a lie. And so in the chat, if you would identify which one is the lie, we'll have a lot of fun with it. So let's go down the list. The first ODTUG user conference was held in Keystone, Colorado. Extra points if you know what the name of that conference was.
I know.
In 2005, the Kscope conference was known as ODTUG Now. Wow, I didn't know that. The record for largest Kscope attendance remains Kscope 2009, way back in 2009 in Atlanta, Georgia. So 1 of those is a lie. 2 of those are true. Put your answers in the chat, and we'll have a lot of fun.
I know.
So I do have to say we have fun with it, but it's very serious today because Monty, ODTUG has very generously sponsored a free registration to one of our live audience participants today. And we are going to choose that winner at random from hopefully enough people get it right. If not, just randomly all participants. So the stakes are high today. The stakes are high. We want you participating. We'll put that back up on later in the show in case you've forgotten what those. So we're looking for the lie.
Yeah, which one is the lie?
Which one is the
lie? All right, so let's start out, Michelle. Let's start out with kind of talking with Karen. Karen, in her role as the assistant conference chair, she's kind of, she has broad responsibilities over the conference. The assistant usually has no responsibilities or does all the work. I'm not sure which is the case with Karen. I know you've got a great conference chair that you're working for as well, so I'm sure things are running pretty smooth.
Oh, Kevin McGinley is our conference chair, for those who don't know, and Kevin has everything wonderfully under control. Not only with, this is how things will be, but contingent A, B, C, D, E, F, depending on how COVID expands. People probably don't know, we originally plan the conference as a live conference. We have to, because we have contracts. We're large enough now with the Hyperion EPM community that we need to plan conferences many years in advance. With COVID, while we all may logically know that a large conference is not possible, we still have to contractually do all that stuff behind the scenes. So I've been following Kevin as assistant chair in everything, because traditionally our assistant chair then becomes a chair in the following years. So I've just been a sponge. And so that's, what are our tracks for the coming year? What are the numbers of sessions per track? Who are our content chairs? And we pick people that we trust, that know their stuff, that know the community, that know the trends, that know the Oracle PMs. I mean, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. We don't just do the same thing year to year to year. And then there's gathering, getting sessions and what solicitations, opening the abstracts. There's a whole app built by Insum that helps us with that and helps us with reviews. Once our content chairs have their track teams, it's so as an assistant chair, I'm learning not the what happens, but the how and what goes wrong and what do we want to tweak and where do we want to tweak it? When does it need to be tweaked? And we're already planning for next year's conference in whatever shape or form that may take. So it's really exciting. And by the time we get to now planning for a June conference, be it live or virtual as this year's is, we already know what's happening when and where. And we're filling in things now like the in-between sessions and what content do we want there. Planning. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Sounds like it could be a full-time job. Sounds like it's almost a full-time job.
Oh, just it's I only have 4-legged children, and my husband's full-time. Many of you know my husband's a fisherman. My husband is full-time on the boat right now. It's marina season, and then in the summer he's full-time boat. So. We do see each other occasionally, but over the next few years, it might be a little less. But we're used to that. We're used to that with conferences. So
now, back in the day, this was very, very much. I mean, long time ago, historically, this was very much a developers conference, and it was all about the code, and there wasn't. This was before Hyperion and EPM and all those S-Base and all those additional product lines came on board to the conference. How much has the conference changed since then? Is it still considered to be a developers conference? I mean, who should let's give everybody a really high level synopsis of the conference, and then talk about who should attend.
Wow, many questions in there. So
I have more.
ODTUG Kscope is it started as basically a database developers conference. Anything Oracle development, we have a track for it. As things evolved, we have this whole EPM Hyperion side, which we kind of laugh, those of us on the board. Tim German and I, Tim is our president. And Tim looked at me one day, he goes, I'm impressed at what you do. You build things. And I'm like, so what is it that you do? He goes, oh, I implement things. So it's really and I'm in awe of him and he's in awe of me building things. And we just laughed because you need the both. And as Kscope has evolved, we need both sides. They both support the other. Though at a conference, live or virtual, the two paths rarely cross nowadays, it seems. If I go into Apex World, I'm there. We try and position things so that you don't have to walk as far. but anyone who's developing on anything on an Oracle database or related to an Oracle database, so that's Apex is one, but now the whole ORDS world and REST development, well, now that opens up a whole nother avenue in what has been traditionally our database track. But by database track, it's no longer DBA type database stuff. It's anything in SQL Developer, anything ORDS, anything REST. Now, in our latest database versions, machine learning and AI are big pushes of Oracle, and we're following right along. So you'll see more this year, and you'll see more going forward. And Helen can talk about more of the what we call the MAD track, modern app development and emerging technology. I like calling it the MAD track. But it's so now, because there's more machine learning in our database, well, how do we use those Jupyter notebooks? What do we do with machine learning? What do we need to know? What do I need to know as an Apex developer? How do I use this stuff? And I think Adrian Ping has some sessions on that. Mm-hmm. So anything that's new and out there, a lot, I think in the last few years, people are like, oh, well, Oracle is behind. Well, look at what they're doing now with ML and AI, and look at what you can do with what do you mean you have notebooks? Well, if you sign up for an always free database with Oracle, you've got access to this stuff. Jump in there and just see what you can do. So at Kscope, we're trying to give you more of this more of this content, so that you can learn the tip of the iceberg and delve in more. That's on the database development side.
See, Karen, that's what attracted me to the organization from the start, years and years ago, is the practicality of it. Because we even had, well, first of all, I had a question for you. Are the listservs still up? Because back before, that's where we all started, me and you and the rest of us, all dinosaurs. Yeah, we used to go through those listservs and ask questions there. But we even had a series of little mini conferences and stuff that were called Seriously Practical. And the practicality of what I would get from ODTUG was just invaluable. So I'm glad to see that the roots are still there, and we're still doing things that are going to help the developer when they show back to work up on Monday.
That's exactly it. When I review a session and then we look at the overall content, which is something I get to do, as an assistant chair, the question is, if I'm this level of attendee, can I go back to my boss, go back to work and say, I learned A, B, and C, and I can use that now? Or I learned, or preferably an and I learned D, E, and F, and we can use that next year. We should be moving towards this. Readily practical, readily things that I can make my job easier, make my organization better. And that's across the board, every track, we try and do that. That's our goal.
I remember coming back from a few of these conferences, just my mind buzzing, because you learn so much, and you just want to do it all now, or you want to do it all yesterday. And I think sort of even just sorting that out. So what you just said now about, okay, this is stuff we can do now, this is stuff that we can do later. That's a good way to think about it, because it can be information overload as well.
I just want to point out, for me, I work in higher education, and I've been in IT and higher ed for 22 years, and we're always very slow to adapt to anything new. So I always feel like when I come back from Kscope, it's something we should be doing now, and 5 years later, maybe we'll be doing it. For example, we're just going to Exadata now, so it's, but it's always exciting to learn to hone in on those basic SQL skills, because I'm a developer, and to see what's coming is always really exciting.
It's important to be able to look down the street and around the corner.
Yeah,
kind of. It's important because but your organization is probably not that unique in that sense. Very few organizations are on the absolute bleeding edge. They usually want to see things a bit proven out before they go in there and adopt. So. But they need folks like you on board to kind of know what's coming.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, talking about all the great content, can we maybe get into some of the process of selecting the content, abstract selection? How does that all happen? I mean, And how was it different in the COVID? Was it different in the COVID context? And if so, how? There we go. That's 5 questions at a time. There we go. 5 questions in one.
Okay.
And
So
then you have follow-ups.
Yeah.
I started on, I was on the first time I was on the content selection team was in 2016. When I was in the leadership program, I met Debbie Golnick, and she was the track lead at that time for database track. And she invited me to join the abstract review committee. And I really enjoyed that because you get to see, you don't only see the final selection of what's been chosen, but you see all the submissions. And in the database track, it's traditionally always been, I think one year we had 300 abstracts to go through,
Wow.
literally. But there's always at least 100 or more. There's so many are so good, and it's always a challenge to whittle down that final selection. It's really difficult when you have such great content and so many good presenters submitting. And many times, you might have they'll have similar submissions on the same topic. Like you might have 3 on 21C. So whose is the best? It's hard to pick. And I think that for COVID, the challenge there's besides challenges, I just want to point out there's also an opportunity, because without having a physical conference that people have to travel to, you've just opened up the realm of presenters to the whole world, right? So this year, and especially in database, we've got a lot of international submissions. So you might hear from some people that you normally may not have a chance to hear from, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But that I just know, and Jackie can probably say the same thing. When you get such great submissions, it's really hard to pick the cream of the crop, and 90% of them are the cream of the crop. So how do you get down to that final group?
And yeah, with COVID, as Karen said, we planned initially for an in-person conference, and it was scaled down significantly. So where on a normal year, I think we have something like 50 Apex sessions. This year for our in-person conference, we were only going to have 18. So we got over 100 submissions, and the content team had to choose only 18 of those. That was, I do not envy them in doing that. When we made the decision to go virtual, we opened up a few more. So we ended up with 24, but still, that's slim odds to getting your stuff selected this year. It's really hard.
And I think
you got over 100. Sorry, Helen, over 100 submissions and 24 selected. Is that in the Apex track? Is that it?
That's an Apex, yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to mention that one other challenge with COVID this year was because we've opened, your audience is so much wider and your speakers pool is so much wider because it's virtual. You also have to be careful that these sessions haven't already been presented virtually, because you don't want to repeat, offer sessions that people have already seen. So that's just, whereas when you're in person, I might have somebody present at, DOUG, present a session over in Germany that not everyone has seen, so they can come to the live Kscope and present it again because not everyone has seen it. But so that offers also as a challenge to the speakers themselves, having fresh content virtually for all these different virtual conferences that happened this year.
Yeah. I will point out that Oracle is helping us on that unique content because I've been notified by members of the Apex team that, hey, when 21.1 comes out, we're going to have new stuff on this, this, and this. So and then on the visual builder side, so that'd be modern app development, the visual builder team is releasing new stuff. Oracle traditionally comes out with new stuff before major conferences. So I have 2 sessions that I know I have to do some major revamping to keep up with. And I think with 21C, with new stuff coming out there, we'll see new things of necessity. Oracle is great at right before the conference. The beauty is now we have things in cloud, so it's not install fest the week before the conference.
Right.
Anyone remembers that? I'm dating myself. I'm like, oh no.
I remember we used to get all the DVDs, or that's one of the reasons you would go to a user conference, because you would get the betas and you would get the actual installs. But
some of
boy, those seems like a long time ago, Karen, because it was because it was.
My first Apex conference, and you talk as a speaker, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It was the first big one. It was in Florida somewhere. It might have been Daytona. I don't know. But Patrick Wolf was there and Dimitri Gellis was there. And we're all just like, hey. And I'm in my presentation and my computer died. And so Dimitri in the back of the room, whom I just met, said, oh, I have it on a USB drive. So we swapped to someone else's computer and I did my presentation off of Dimitri's USB drive, you know. And we could do that today, but even right then, that first conference where we were all together, there was a community helping a community, and I you know, the Apex community is just wonderful for that.
Just wonderful. If it was Daytona, that was 2007, and I think that may have been Dimitri's first conference.
I know it's the first one that I met Dimitri and Patrick Wolf, and I was just in awe of all these people. There was a time when Patrick Wolf did not work for Oracle. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, that's
trivia things you may not have known.
That's when he was doing the Apex Lib stuff. And then I think that, and then some of that stuff made it like the Insum Advisor or the Apex Advisor. That kind of came from Patrick's work before he joined.
Yeah,
Monty, you have a phenomenal memory. I'm always impressed. Like, I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, and you're like, oh yeah, that was 2007.
What?
I'm very impressed.
What it is, Michelle, is these KScope events are so memorable that I remember different events and that there are little things, Monty, I can tell you afterwards that you know, I was in this event and you came to help me out, and I was just so grateful. But that's a story for later. But I remember the locations and the stuff. I'm just not good with numbers.
Well, you know, it's I like to say that it's not about, or it's not always about what happens in the session. It's everything but, you know, and that's where we establish the bonds and establish these unbreakable friendships.
We'll get back to it.
We shall. We shall.
Well, that's something that we're trying to do with a virtual event. Like it's hard with virtual because people show up right before and then they go back to work, or but we have this 40 minutes between sessions. And what we're trying to do, and many of you will have seen our KScope Connect email, that we're looking for people to say, hey, I have a hobby, I have an interesting little fact, I have a recipe, we're trying to get dinner with Helen, and she keeps laughing and she hasn't committed to it yet because you know, because of the time zone, she's always cooking dinners, and we're like, we'll share, you know, we'll cook with you. We're trying to do these things between sessions and have a mix of a panel, someone is doing something on Toastmasters, just little things to draw people in. We'll have little tours of Boston area and upcoming places, and so we're trying to what do people want to just join a room and exchange, like get that vibe going.
So Karen, sorry to interrupt. I've just thrown up a QR code for anybody that's interested in this KScope Connect, and you're still recruiting, right, people? So that's a link to the sign up form if you have any hobbies or things to share and want to get involved. You can use that.
Yeah, anything people want to talk about. Thank you, Michelle. That's awesome, and it's wide open right now. Just like you are in between sessions, moving from one room to the other.
Hey, Monty, maybe we'll get Anton to teach us how to bake bread. He did that.
Hey, I'm on board. I'm on board with that.
Maybe we should dive into some of the specific content, because I'm quite excited to see what so Jackie, you were in charge of the Apex track. Should we dive in and take a look at some of the sessions that people will be giving? There you go.
Yes.
Thanks, Mark.
We have a ton of them here listed. So like I said, there's 24. Tim St. Hilaire, he was our fantastic content track selection lead. So him and his team are responsible for the tough job of picking all of this year. But I think they did a fantastic job. I know there's a few slides to fit all of the different sessions on there, but I think we have something for everyone. I think if you're advanced or beginner, there's really some great sessions. Me personally, as an more advanced Apex developer, I'm excited about Michelle predicting the customer churn using the autonomous database and machine learning in Apex, like you and Adrian.
We're working on that now. It's good fun prepping. A lot of work, but hopefully we'll have some really interesting things to share.
Yeah, and like that's not a common thing you see. And then there's one from Tyson. He's doing like 5 easy ways to use the actions interface, and I don't know how to do that, so that would be awesome. And then there's Ben Shumway from Insum. He is doing custom Apex error handling for, I think it's staging and production, and I think that's something I'm really looking forward to. Beginner-wise, I'm not going to mention all of the specific stuff, but if you're a beginner in Apex, we have a bunch of good resources. There's dynamic actions, there's autonomous or the new automations, there's shared components, collections, report layouts, like you name it. I think you can find something. Continuous integration, REST. I think we have, for having such a small number of sessions, I think we're able to get a good mix, and hopefully there's something for everyone. We do have a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot of first-time speakers. I don't recognize some of the names. They may be first-time Kscope speakers, but I think
back up. Yeah.
First-time to Kscope.
So there's,
sure.
Yeah, there's first-time to Kscope. I know Rajiv, he's new, and Jeff, like I've never seen their names up there before. Michael Patton, he's from Viscosity, but I'm not sure if he's spoken at Kscope before. It might be his second time. It could be his first. Dominic, I don't believe he's spoke at Kscope before.
Here.
Yeah, and then there's like Andrea, Michelle. I think we have a really cool mix of people and getting some fresh faces in. So it's really great, I think.
Nice. Do you know what else I'm noticing, Jackie? So if we can go through, I feel like the girls are better represented this year than other years. I mean, we're still far outnumbered, but Karen, you're speaking, Jackie, Christina, myself,
Andrea. Yeah,
Andrea.
I did a little speaker math before we came on, and we have 5 speakers that are women out of 21 total speakers in the Apex track.
Good.
It's about like 24-ish%. So it's still not representative, I think, the female population in Apex, but it's much improved over past years, I believe. So, and then submission wise, I know there were female speakers that submitted that didn't get accepted. So I think we had a relatively good turnout. And I can't speak for previous years what that was, but what the ratio was, but it seems moving in the right direction to me.
Yes. Yes. We're definitely getting more every year.
That's good. We need that. We need more of us in the community.
I think part of it is encouraging women to submit.
Mm-hmm.
It can seem guy heavy.
Unlike this panel.
We're trying. We're going for change, Monty. We're going for change.
Starts here. It starts here, Karen.
We're going for a change, but at the same time, the women that were accepted weren't accepted because they were women. They rated very highly in the rankings of the session. So that's even more impressive, I believe, than getting more numbers. It's that they're actually being among their peers, they're being rated very highly. So I think that's really encouraging.
Because this is the first round of voting blind. So we didn't have any blind voting, but there is public voting. So people outside of us can rank the presentations how they see fit. And then within the content teams, there's 8 people, not us, but Tim and his team rated them.
and them at the team as a whole rated these very highly. So that's nice to see that they're.
I was going to say we would love to have more women, but we need more women to submit abstracts. We need more submitters.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You can't choose to populate the track with more women speakers if the abstracts aren't there. Great point.
Hey, Monty, let's remind everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
That goes across all tracks. All tracks.
Yeah, we'll get to Helen's track in a bit, but maybe before we do that, let's remind everybody of our 2 truths and a lie. And just a reminder, we are giving away a free registration to the conference, very generously sponsored by OD Tug. So we need you guys to put in the comments, which of these 3 do you think is the lie?
I think I know. I've narrowed it down.
Well, I hope you know.
I know. I know.
Yeah. Does everybody on the call know?
I think so.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Well, you're not eligible, Jack.
Yeah, I think you're already comped.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on, Michelle, to the MAD. I love the MAD track. I've been calling it its full name. I love MAD. From now on, it's MAD.
Yeah, the MAD track was the brainchild of Deborah Lilly, who suggested it for the first time last year. But we didn't have a Kscope 20 technically last year, so this will be the first year that the full track is available. I think we have 12 sessions this year, and the focus is on, it's kind of a mesh of Apex database and developers and not DBAs, but so we have mobile development. We have a couple sessions on using Oracle's Visual Builder Studio. A hands-on lab on building your own digital assistant. So a couple things on building SaaS solutions. You're using Oracle Cloud. So just a lot of MAD and emerging tech are kind of go hand in hand, I guess. Emerging tech, more MAD is again the blend of Apex, emerging tech, and database. It's kind of a little, it touches everything, and shows you all the really cool, cutting edge things you can do.
Is it more of a if it doesn't fit anywhere else, it kind of goes into emerging tech?
No, I think the database track is that dumping ground. It doesn't fit anywhere else, it goes there.
Yeah.
All right. There's a lot of familiar names there.
Yeah, we put up a slide.
I wanted to mention that.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to mention that the symposiums are back this year. So they're not on Sunday like normal, but they're on Monday. And the Apex or Oracle teams from all the tracks are doing their normal symposium. So that's always one of the highlights, I think, of the conference. And so we're bringing that to the virtual event this year. And I think we have a lot of good stuff to look forward to for that.
That's good. I know people that weren't able to attend the conference. They would come in for the symposiums and then leave because they couldn't stay the week. That they're that important, and that it's just you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth because it's the Oracle product teams that are delivering the content.
And again, I want to be in the Apex track and the MAD symposium and in the database symposium because there's all that stuff that I want to learn. I don't want to miss it.
Let's we still have a little bit of time left, and so I'm always interested to know how this all came to be. So like we'll just keep the same order: Karen, Jackie, and then Helen. It's like, what was the process of you getting on the let's talk specifically about the conference committee. How did you get onto the conference committee, and how did you find yourself woke up one morning and you're the assistant conference chair?
That's kind of how it happens. No, I came in through the other user group. I I was working for, doesn't matter who, the state government, and they sent me to a conference, and it was an IOUG conference before it was Collaborate. And I volunteered. I said, hey, you know, because I was just inquisitive. And then someone at a coworker said, you know, we developers do this OD Tug thing. You know, you're in the wrong conference. So the next year I asked to go to OD Tug, and whoa, what a difference as a developer. As a developer, I was like, whoa, this is my home. And I started talking with Donna Rishi-Winkleman, who was the OD Tug Technical Journal editor. Now I'm really dating myself.
Oh man!
And, wow,
taking me back.
And she said, I need an assistant editor. And I'm like, well, I was an editor in my high school, blah, blah, blah. And she said, oh, perfect. So I was editor. And as editor, we used to have, I'm dating myself again. When you submitted to a conference, you also wrote a white paper. This is a thing where it goes on a Word document, and you submit it along with your PowerPoint presentation. And then we would read all those. So I saw the conference before the conference. So I was around OD Tug and seeing all the conference material. And then when, for years, I did that. I became editor. I was editor when we went from printed journals to online, and I was editor when we retired the whole thing. And I miss it because I met everybody everywhere because I begged for articles. Every quarter you have to beg for material to fill your journal. So then it was just natural to get involved in the conference because I had time because I missed reading all this material, seeing the content, seeing the people. So I said, hey, do you have something to do for me to do on the conference committee? And I got on the track team. And then I ran for the board because everyone said, well, aren't you on the board? And I'm like, no, I'm a journal editor and I don't do that anymore. And they said, oh, well, you should run. And for those of you out there that may not be involved in your user group, OD Tug or any user group, get involved because it is the best way to learn and meet people and get those connections. And it will rocket your knowledge and confidence and and your role within your organization. It's just phenomenal.
Yep. The answer, that's what I really noticed is that whenever I would get into a bind at work, the answers were right there in my Rolodex. I could call somebody from OD Tug or from Oracle, and it was all a result of involving myself in the organization. So great point, Karen. Jackie, what was your journey?
So I think I was an observer of OD Tug long before I ever joined. I think back when I worked for Doug and Scott at Incotech, I saw them going off and doing this transition. Like, where are you guys going? Like, this looks fun. Can I come? And they're like, it's this Kscope thing. No, you can't come. But I learned that you could, if you joined OD Tug, you could get the content of this stuff. And I was really interested in that. I wanted to go to the conferences. I wanted this content. I'd never had it before. So I think for a few years, I just joined to get access to all of the great stuff that you get when you are part of a paid member of OD Tug. But I never went to an event, never spoke to anybody. And then when at Insum, I started to get even more exposed to this conference thing. Like, they have a booth, you see it going on. And I'm like, okay, this looks right up my alley. I really want to go. So somehow I convinced someone to let me go just as a spectator. I think my first year was in like 2017, and then just to attend the conference.
San Antonio.
Yeah. And then but I didn't present. I just worked at the booth. I met people and I fell in love with it. I was like, okay, I have to go every year. So then I was like, okay, then I need to speak. So I started submitting abstracts every year since to be a speaker and go to the conferences. And at some point, I started doing the public voting for the abstracts. And then last year, I was pulled into the content selection team that Scott was running. And yeah, from there, I got a call from Kevin saying, "Hey, do you want to do this year?" And sure, okay. So I mean, it's great. I think it's a great organization to give back to. I always get a ton from it. And I get to meet all these cool people. So it's really nice. I think it's fun.
Awesome. Monty, Jackie mentioned San Antonio, and I think that's one of my very first memories I have of you is walking around that KScope conference, you know, very much like you are today with the cowboy hat. I'm like,
the entire Insum team. We were sporting the cowboy hats.
Yeah,
it was a good time. That was a good time. But you know, you mentioned about giving back, and I think I think the Beatles said, "The love you get is the love you give," or something like that. And it is really true. The more you put into this organization, any organization, the more you put into the organization, the more you retrieve from it. And certainly been my experience too. Helen, like we said, you attended Hollywood. We followed you around with a camera and documented your experience. How did you go from that to being on the conference committee?
So I started on the abstract review committees in 2013, and as Karen pointed out, when you get involved with your user group, you meet a lot of people, and I made so many great friends through this organization. And I believe it was Jen Anderson, many of you might know her, who was joined the conference, was on the conference committee one year, and she was telling me, yeah, you get to go do a site visit, and you get to taste all the food, and then your travel's paid. You get your conference comp. Well, I want to do that. How do I do that?
Oh no!
So I think I started with bugging Natalie, bugging Opal, and finally they're like, okay, we'll finally put her on the conference committee. But of course, it's during the COVID years, and we don't get to go anywhere or do anything.
Well,
I was just gonna ask you to tell us how that turned out.
We did get this. I did get to do the site visit to Boston before everything, went downhill. So at least we did. And then the OD Tug was really generous to send us this great care package from Nashville, which we missed.
But those site visits, Helen, and all the perks that you mentioned, I mean, they're nice, but believe me, I don't have to tell you three that they're earned. I mean, it's a lot of late nights.
It's a lot of work. It's not all fun. Yeah. It's a lot of work. I mean, it is fun. It's fun work, but we start planning a year ahead, and we have bi-weekly meetings. It's always been virtual meetings before, Zoom or GoToMeeting or phone calls or whatever. So that part's not new. And it's just being like Jackie said, being exposed to all that content and all the things you're learning that other people are doing. And you see something and you think, wow, what is that? I've never even heard of that. So you really broaden your own knowledge as well as your circle of friends. When you join a group like that.
Throw up on the screen. This is the second time I've said that, Monty. I'm going to throw up. I'm not going to throw up on the screen.
You're going to throw up on screen.
The link to the conference. So registrations are obviously open, right? We encourage everybody to go and sign up if there's any doubt of the value of this conference. Hopefully, everyone's made that really clear. As a past participant in, I think, 4 different Kscopes, like really vouch for. I mean, it's an amazing. It's an amazing event. I look forward to seeing how the virtual version pans out. But obviously, some really, really great content. But go ahead, check out the site. All the information you need to sign up and register is there. Just wanted to.
And Michelle, I was just about to say, perfect timing. Like if you could throw up that QR code again. If any of our stories inspired you to start volunteering, we need volunteers for just like to host a breakout room or do something fun. Like you don't have to showcase a talent. You can just volunteer an hour of your time to come be an MC, like do a breakout room, just be a monitor, help us out with the virtual thing. And I think you'll get some great benefits just from meeting people in the organization by doing that.
For sure.
And sorry, Helen, I covered your face with that QR code.
Your travel expenses here, so.
And Monty, you had pointed out when you make the connections and you pull out your Rolodex, the 2021 version of pulling out your Rolodex now is you tag your folks on Twitter that you met at Kscope, and you'll get an immediate answer, plus the answer of all their friends and followers too.
Immediate. And for whatever reason, it's particularly true in the Apex track. I mean, they've chosen Twitter as kind of their medium for corroboration like that, and collaboration. Back in the day, I really sound like the old guy now, but back in the day, we always had conversations about whether we're an organization or whether we're a conference, because the conference is so important. And I think you guys have answered that question. You're an organization, because here we've had a couple of conferences now that haven't been in person. One of them didn't happen really at all, and the next one is kind of virtual. So I think you sufficiently answered the question. We're an organization. If we were only a conference, you'd cease to exist.
We wouldn't be.
You're an organization.
I mean, we want to bring the latest, best material to our members or to anyone. You really don't even have to be a member to get some of the benefit, because you'll see ODTUG people out there. We want you to be a member. We want you to volunteer. That's where you get. I'm biased because this has been my path. That's where I got real value, is giving back and chiming in. And that's where I got my connections. And that's where I learned. If you present on a topic, you will learn not that topic. You'll learn more and more and more. It's amazing. But yeah, it's. I think everyone's had a struggle through COVID to find, how do I communicate best? How do I learn best? How do I do this? If I see one more Zoom screen, but it's what we have to do. It's what we have to do, and we will keep doing it. And who knows what conferences will look like? Maybe virtual will be a part of all our conferences going forward. Who knows? That's to be determined. But I think people are used to it. Some people prefer it. Organizations may prefer it. Who knows what travel budgets will be when? There's all huge questions. But in the meantime, if anyone else has noticed, Oracle has not slowed down. They have some exciting stuff coming up and exciting stuff planned for developers coming through. If anyone heard anything about new stuff for the ACE program coming down the pipe, that is all new and exciting stuff. So it'll be more ML, more AI. If you haven't started learning about that stuff now, there's some sessions at the Kscope virtual event. Look at them, dive in, because Oracle is going full speed down that path, and we got to keep up. So virtual it is for now.
Yeah, and like Jackie and Helen mentioned earlier, it means it just opens up in some ways the conference to people who never would have been able to attend in the first place because of being too far or any travel restrictions. So I mean, if we have to look at any positive outcome of the pandemic and virtual, it's maybe that's one of them. Monty, shall we look at the winner of our Two Truths and a Lie? If anybody wants to, one last chance to win a free registration, and what is that registration going for? Is it $199 for members, I think. Anyway, the information is on the site. So last chance, but if nothing else comes in, Monty, I'm going to ask you to pick a number from 1 to 4. We've had 4 correct answers to the Two Truths and a Lie. Can you pick a number from 1 to 4, and I will reveal the winner then.
All right, here's my number right there.
Number 3. So Anderson. 3. Anderson is our winner.
Anderson.
Yay.
Great.
So,
congratulations,
Anderson, if you want to reach out to us here at that email address, we can't disclose the coupon code for you to use, otherwise somebody else might get in there before you.
what was the, let's go through the question.
Yeah,
Oh my
which one
goodness,
was
I'm
it?
doing this
Identify which one
really
it is.
well. Okay, here we go. Here are the here are the 2 truths and a lie. Monty, these are your 2 truths and a lie. Do you want to go through them?
Yeah, the first ODTUG user conference was held in Keystone, Colorado. That is true. That is true. And that was when we were known as the KScope. In 2005, KScope conference was known as ODTUG now. I actually did not know that. My first conference was in 2006 in Washington, D.C., and that was the first year the conference was known as Kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
And the record for largest KScope attendance remains KScope 2009 in Atlanta, Georgia, and that is totally false. I think 2009 was Monterey, California.
Monterey.
And yeah, that was a great conference. It was a beautiful part of the world, and I think that was the first time that I was ever involved with the conference committee. So I remember Monterey quite well. But yeah, thank you for participating, Anderson.
Yeah, so we had Leah, Michelle, Anderson, and Ken who had the right answer. And I just have to put up Leah's comment because look at her avatar.
Awesome.
How awesome is that? Leah, Monty, had you picked number 1, Leah would have been the winner. There we go.
No doubt, no doubt.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. I think if there shouldn't be any doubt left in anyone's minds that this is a great event. Thank you for organizing it and putting it on for all of us. Just as a reminder to sign up, register. The link is there. The committee is looking for volunteers. Oh, that doesn't work. I will remove that.
Yeah.
Monty, how did you survived with the 4 of us?
Yes.
We outnumbered you, but you did really well. You handled yourself perfectly.
You guys were quite gentle. I wasn't scared. Yeah, I love these conversations that we have because it's the same conversation we would have in a hallway at a KScope conference. And that's what we miss. That's what we miss.
You bet.
We terribly miss it. So it's great to have you guys participate, even if it is virtually. And it won't be that way for much longer. We're going to get back to the way things were.
Yeah, and I want to give a big shout out to Insum for hosting this series and keeping people connected through the pandemic. This Insum Insider has been one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you.
And you guys have always been great supporters of ODTUG, and we certainly appreciate that. But
thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. And actually, Monty, if you remember, the Insider was kind of born about a year ago when the conferences started getting canceled, when ODTUG and it was one of the reasons we were looking for a way to stay connected with the community. Exactly. that we've said it so many times, the Apex community is one of the best, most generous communities out there, and we all really miss the opportunity to connect at these events. So this is sort of our way of trying to do some of that. So
yeah, absolutely. Habits are formed, and we don't want us to form the habits of not, maintaining these friendships and these bonds. And we don't want to get in the habit of doing everything on our own. We want to keep that community vibe in place because it's very strong. It's taken a few gut shots with the pandemic, but it's still strong. And when the world normalizes, ladies, we're going to come back better than ever at the conferences. I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
We do as well.
Well, thanks again. Michelle, if you'll cue the music, we'll get people back to work. We'll dance on out here. And thank you, ladies, very much for being here on the Inside News.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Insum Insider.